Whenever you feel ready, sir.
You want me to go?
Yes.
My name is C.E. Leadman, Charles L.U. I'm 86 years old. I went to work for American Viscose in 1937 in Nitro, West Virginia. As a lead burner helper, I become a lead burner, and I come over here in 1940 as a lead burner to help build the plant. And in 1944, I was elected president of the local union, and I was elected president 44 to 45, and business agent in 46, and I served 33 years in that position. We built the Union Hall in 1948. That was about 3 years after I come in office, because they were kicking us around. We rented here, we rented there. One of the things that I remember most, when I come here, I never worked with black people before.
I have to stop it.
So I represented the union for 33 years here. We were lucky to have good management. We had good relationships with management. I believe that you had to make your company money, and so we run the union in that sense. Sometimes people in the union think that they can loaf all the time, and that just doesn't bring you in the money that you always after money. So this is one of the things that we have 6 ex-plant managers here, and I'm a personal friend to every one of them. Lost Bob Spangler. Bob's a special friend of mine, and he died about 2 years ago. He was an ex-plant manager, and I built him a house across from me. We are proud of the position that the union and the company had the opportunity to sit down and talk things out rather than to hit the street on a strike. So we're proud that we never had a strike.
And you were one of the only companies in the area to never have a strike, weren't you?
Yeah, we were the only one probably in the company that never had a strike. See, they had 7 plants.
Do you attribute that to the public relations, the community, the closeness?
Well, how we dealt together, see. I believe that you had to work to earn the company money. And if you didn't do it, you're not going to have something good when you go in negotiations. So I never had to have a boss look over me to get me doing a day's work. So I practiced that. And we're quite proud of this. We have so many people, and the Union Hall. When the Union Hall, the National Union took the Union Hall. The plant goes down. They take your property. They put me in to manage a Union Hall for 2 years, and I kept pushing them of how we could buy it back. Well, we got a deal that we could buy it for $150,000. Well, I went. Tommy Nicewarner is my neighbor. He's a police, and the organization they have, the Fraternal Order of Police, he was a treasurer. And I said, Tommy, why don't we get together and buy the Union Hall? And we did that. And we paid for it. We paid the the National Union carried the Union Hall $100,000 without any interest. We paid it off in 4 years, $100,000. We put up $40,000 apiece. And of course we had to do some other work to it. And we bought it for $150 at a price for $335 million, I believe. So it was a good buy, but we paid it off in 4 years. Well, I went up to get the deed, and we were going to have a little fire to burn the deed, and the deed of trust that the National Union put on it was $10, not $100,000. I couldn't believe it, but that's how much they trusted us here.
I know that you have been a wonderful part of the community. Could you talk a little bit about what life was like at the plant, what work was like when you first got there?
Well, the company automatically let us come into the union. We didn't have to go out and beat the bushes, so we had to take a little less money for a few years, but that's what happened. And one of the things that happened here, and I have a picture of this, our black members. I had to go up in Freetown when I was elected president, and I had to meet with them on Thursday night, not on Wednesday night. They couldn't meet in the same. So I decided to try to do something about it. Well, you got to crawl before you can walk, and that's exactly what I found out. When we built the Union Hall, we had a meeting with our executive board to push our people that we must let the black members, they helped build the Union Hall, they must have a part in it. By one vote, we passed that. I have a picture that shows, and they when they come into the Union Hall, they actually was perfect. They were so happy to get in it, and of course, then we put in an extra restroom that was never had a. Nobody ever knew it was there. We put it between the other restrooms. We did it as a precaution. There was never a sign put on it, and a few years later we took all the facilities out of it, and they never had it. There's no Jim Crow stuff in the Union Hall. And my position with our membership, that if we don't do this, the National Union is going to make us do it. And if they do that, we're going to lose half of our membership. They're just as sure as you're living. And if you want to break the union, it's about one vote. And we had a great, I have a picture that will show how many members that they come out good, very good.
About what percentage was the plant's workforce with white or black people? Do you remember?
Well, I say that we had a couple hundred black people working there. When they were hired into the plant, they were hired as laborers. They were loaned out to every department. They was that's the situation here. And of course, that was all done away with eventually, but this is the way it was down here, and you couldn't believe the difference between what it is today and what it, when the school shut down. That did us a lot of harm. One of my best friend's daughter went to school. He was a nice guy. Her name was Baltimore now. But Alan Rhodes was his name. His daughter was the first one with the school over here. Very pleasant young lady, and so that's. But the plant, actually made this town, no question. We had a lot of women on piecework up in the coating room. Work slashing was all women, and double deck was part women. So we had a lot of women in the plant. So I think we have everything to be proud of. That we had such. See, Jerry Tompkins was our first plant manager. He became president of American Viscose, and he was one of the best friends I ever had. I had war with Ray God the first 3 years of my tenure. But one day Ray called me into his office and said, "Leadman, you know what? When you and I are at each other's throats, we're forgetting the people we're supposed to represent." I said, "Ray, I had no reason to fight you, but I had to." When that was over, Ray got become my best friend. And when I went in a meeting, I know that I'd get a square deal. And you can't believe the pressure it brings off on all of us, because we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about things. But Ray was pretty tight when he come here. But just to give you an example, when they put the guards under Ray's Turner Slaughter resigned and wouldn't work under Ray, because Ray was tough. But when I made friends with him, that's the best thing we could ever do. That's the best thing we could ever do. And when he died, he asked for me 5 minutes before he died. So we was just that. I would go help him with things. We'd sit down and talk for hours about things that's in the industry that you got to. So we didn't have to. My problem since I've had my stroke, I sometimes forget things to say. If it comes up, it don't come to me. So if I act that way, that's the way it is with me today.
Now, what are some of the significant events, aside from allowing the blacks to meet with you? What are some of the big things that you had to go through during the course of Avtex?
Well, the running the union here was probably when you break down and get the business agents and management to deal together, you then got a new life. Because I love this job more than anything in the world, because I could do things for people. Now I started to help disability Social Security for people. I felt this was one of the, and I did that all the time that I was in office. And 20 years after I went out of office, I still did it. And on July the 13th, 2 years ago, on July, had a little party for me over there, and they gave me a plaque, 50 years of partnership. You know, Mrs. Medved. Well, she pretty much. I had the writing of it. I've misplaced it someplace, but it's a very good program, and I was on the hospital board for many years, and when I left the hospital board, Bill Lillard went on. Bill Lillard was president of the local union, and those are the things that I have done, and we developed. It was like building the housing project. We built a housing project. We built 35 houses, and I put up the first $2,000 to buy the McKay farm, and $32.68 a month was their payments. We got 4%. So I feel you don't. And when the Union Hall was bought, I put the first $5,000. I went out and raised $40,000 more for my friends, and so this is the way we've gone, and I'm now getting so that I'm in everybody's way. But I have enjoyed it, and I've made so many friends that I appreciate it. And the plant, we were the largest largest poundage 250 million pounds, I believe. Now, we made 1/3 of the bomber tar cord made in this country during the war, when it transferred from nylon to rayon. And then nylon had a bump in it, see, the transfer. Then we doubled the size of our spinning room, and we made 1/3 of all the bomber tar made. We then built a double-deck machine that they had a 10-pound cone and processed it right on the machines there. So we had a very modern plant here, and we had great, like, blacks and whites in the plant. You would never know that the segregation happened because we didn't work that way. But when it comes to saying, well, you know, it takes many years to get out of that. But we broke that, and we put a restroom in, but we never did use it and never put a sign on it. Never put a sign on it. If you don't want to shoot sometime, we'll show it to you. It's right between the other two restrooms.
I know you came here from the nitro plant.
Right.
And you've remained in Front Royal. This has been your home since you moved here.
Right.
Could you speak a little bit about what happened when the plant closed down to this community?
Well, the thing that happened, our people almost all of them went down to Washington and worked. They got going in post offices and things like there. So it didn't affect us as bad as you'd think it was. But when it shut down, our people were willing to work, know how to work, and when you hired people work at this plant, you hired pretty good people. I'll say that. All of them were, you know.
Can you think of some of the significant events that occurred at the Viscose Corporation? I know there were a few pilot programs there with training and a few inventions that happened here.
Well, yes, we made a carbonated yarn, and that was used on the space shuttles coming back, and they had a patent on that. See, we built a new plant. The other plant that we had. I'll show you right here. Here Tompkins. Me and Woodford and Jerry Tompkins was we dedicated that new project that to put us the guy in the middle, and Jerry Tompkins, and he become president of American. See, American Viscose was an English outfit, and they had one family owned them. And when the war come, they were sold out. That's why they transferred 2 times. FMC bought them out, and then Avtex and John Gregg took that over. And of course, then they went bankrupt, and we lost all of our insurance and everything when they went bankrupt. But the government took over our pension plan, and that's safe. That's a great thing. But as far as
here, let me go ahead and stop it for a minute. Okay, whenever you're ready, sir. We were talking about some of the programs, the training programs.
We had a great training program. We trained all of our when we get set up. All of our helpers had an opportunity to make lead burners, welders, combination welders, and those things. And it was a great thing for them. And when they went out on the road, then they were qualified to do almost anything. Yeah, we had a great program here. Charlie Baldwin, Ray Heskett and Charlie Baldwin. Ray died before Charlie did, and Charlie was the other welder. And Charlie was one of my great friends. He was chairman of the engineering department. Charlie had never been in a union hall when he was elected. And I was a little concerned about it because, you know, the bird art. The second meeting I had with Charlie, he's one of my great friends. Great friend. I wouldn't. He's dead now, but I could depend on him on anything.
Sounds like you and the management went far above and beyond what normally happens at a plant by really caring for the people and doing some innovative work. Let me turn it off.
Hello. In our union, we had a shop steward on every shift in every division in the plant. We had a chairman and an assistant chairman. They dealt with management, and the other dealt with the foreman. And sometimes we would have difficulties, and you go in and you never, you know, what you got to do, you never beat a foreman over the head, because he's going to be right back. I'm afraid much more so what we did. We made some compromises. You got to get together and work together. And management was very, very cooperative about that stuff, see, because this is how the union runs smoothly. You had somebody in every department.
We're done.
Okay. You want to go on?
Yes. What are some of the significant things that stick out in your mind that come to light now?
Well, let's say I got an arbitration case here. I was just reading it, and these things are important. We had an arbitrator to settle our differences, and our second arbitrator was Bill Simpkins. Now, he was with Kennedy as his Secretary of Labor, and a fellow named McCraw was in, and he had a hot temper, see, and so one day he slugged the foreman, and so they fought him. We fought. I got the arbitrator case right here, and when we get through the arbitration, they built him up as a hot head and all this stuff. This foreman called him a liar. And so the arbitrator asked him this question: suppose that I put you back to work. The same thing happens again. What would happen? The same thing had happened this time. I'd do the same thing. Now what happened? This foreman didn't use any judgment. The government pled McCraw, it was McCraw, up at hot and he was. When you call that guy a liar, you're going to get hit, just so you let it. While we were in negotiation, we had to meet with Simpkins. So he told the story about this, and he said when he asked him, and if I put you back, the same thing happens again. And he said, when he said, I'll do the same thing, he said he won his case right there. We had another case that a guy was working in the visco department, and they were putting the crumbs down to him. And a fellow was harassing him up there, and he was behind. So well, there's Sam Davis. So Sam had a wrench there, and he just threw that wrench up there about 15 feet, hit him right over the eye. Well, they give him 1 day off and give Sam Davis 40. We went to, and they only give him 2 weeks off, and I think they had to pay him 5 or 6 weeks. They put him back to work because here the guy was trying to get up. This guy was harassing. So these are things where an arbitrator, where you don't shut the planes down to protect the guy. You got an arbitrator that's honest, and he's got some good common sense. So these are things. Harry Bachman was president, was the personnel manager. Liked to kill Harry, but Harry was a great guy. He took Ray Gott's place. He was a great guy. He died with cancer some time ago, but he was a wonderful fella.
Were you unhappy with the way they closed down the plant?
Well, you couldn't nothing you could do about it. They told John Gregg in Richmond you could not dump any more water in the river. He called from Richmond and said, shut down the powerhouse. Now what happened when they shut down the powerhouse, they were still making viscose. When that viscose gets, you have an awful time. And that's what he did. Never done nothing else. Was called and said, shut it down. And he blamed the lady was, what was she?
Mary Sue Terry?
That's right. Well, she made him shut it down, and all the lights that went off when they shut down the powerhouse. They had some lights where you could see, but he called and said shut down the powerhouse, and he was going to do them all over again. Yes, he did.
Now, I found out from my friend Jean Baltimore. I don't know, do you remember Jean Baltimore?
Jeannie?
Black woman?
Jeannie,
yes.
sure I know her.
Yes, she was my best friend in the school cafeteria.
No kid.
Yeah, and she's a
She
good
worked
woman.
in Cody.
She's a good woman.
She worked in Cody.
She did.
Her father's had a stroke.
Yes.
Yeah, I know him. I was out to the senior center, and he was there, and I didn't hardly know him. Know him well. And yeah, Jeannie was quite a character. I'll tell you, her husband worked the state, and he's retired some time ago. Yeah, I know them both.
Jean told me that when the plant closed down, some of the people didn't know how to handle it. One man jumped into the vat. I've heard of other stories where people, I don't know, do you think any of that happened?
Well, I'm sure that was a shock. Because this was the only really good jobs he could have here. But most of them was actually able to pick up jobs and had to drive to work. And some of them are still working down there right now, working in the airports and everything. Yeah, they was able, because they could have good references when they worked for Viscose. They worked for them and did what was right, then they could get a good recommendation. Yeah.
And what happened to the plant in Nitro when this closed?
Well, they shut down the Nitro plant and tore it down, absolutely tore it down, and stripped it for everything. Yeah. And then, of course, the Lewistown plant. Bob Spangler went from here to Lewistown, and he was a personnel manager. Well, they had a flood up there, see, and these guys there, when the flood was over, it flooded the plant, and they went in there and started fooling around. They just shut it down and didn't do anything because apparently they was used to loafing a lot, and they were going to try it there, so the company just shut it down. But Bob was the person, he could come down here and was in management. Had a great, I built him a house. He had the nicest kids.
It seems like there was so much of a community among the people who worked at Avtex.
No question.
Could you talk a little bit more about what life and work was like there?
Well, when you went to work in there, you what we had to do. See, if you get there's a gas in there, CS2. You got to protect people from that. Like some people up in the viscose department, they would not do what they were supposed to, and they get a lot of this gas, and it actually can kill them. We had two people in the lead department. They didn't block off the plant, and this gas seeped in there. And Jim Williams and Ernie Winstead had a nephew. Ernie was a foreman here. He laced up the first machines that was out there. And these are the things that happen because it is a shock when you have to come out. You have to drive 70 miles to work. But they had carpools, see, and some of them had vans, and I had a son and a grandson. I have a son as an electrician down in the Smithsonian, and he had a good job down there. His father was a electrician, and he did a lot of work in there, and he's got his son in there, and he stayed in there. He's on top of that. He lives here and drives back every day.
Now, Avtex was the biggest employer in the town?
We had about 4,000 people. We had at one time maybe only 2 people that didn't belong to the union. So you don't have to belong to the union in Virginia. And you got to represent them, though. I represent them. Don't care what they do. We represent everybody. So you got to represent them. But then at the last, they had so many people flowing in and out, the membership dropped off. When I was business agent, I don't think we had but one black person that didn't belong to the union. And I can speak for one thing. I was proud of the black people when they come and met with us, the same building we met in. I was proud of how they conducted themselves. But see, we did that, and we got by with it. We got by without opening up a restroom. You know, we had it there. Well, we didn't open it. Nobody knew the restroom. We didn't put no sign on it, see? So just, it was great. It was great how they got along. The school shutdown affected us more than anything else. I say that the girl who went to school, her father was a dear friend of mine. And I saw her when I was down, she worked down in the welfare office down there. And I said, "What's your name?" She said, "Chuck, you know me." I said, "What was your father's name?" She told me. I said, "You're in Baltimore." And Rose, New York. But she's a very, very pleasant girl. But that did a lot because I had 2 children in high school. To think of my children may not finish school, you know, just something you don't think of. So you was trying to do something. But we went to Richmond and had a meeting on that. We got down there was nobody from our union there. And I know that there no fellow name was Sterling Tucker and what the other guy he was headed up there. See, but we had very congenial meetings, but they wouldn't bunch. But I guess when you're treated like they were treated, you know, you have to. It's hard to. James Kilby, I had a great relationship with James, and but now he did a lot for NAACP. He's had a stroke, see. I think his son now is head of the NAACP.
His son's wife just took over yesterday, Janice.
Is that Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, he'd go right in there after you. I'll tell you right now. He done a good job at it. But we did everything. We furnished them. We had a preacher in Baltimore. We furnished him on the radio. We paid for that. We would give say pigs so that they could and when they got to come in the Union Hall, then they did a good job, and we had no trouble at all. But it was a shame that people, because of their color, could not advance. They couldn't advance in the plant and the company. I see time we were short of spinners. And I went to Ray Gott. I said, Ray, why don't you put some of these people down there as pan cleaners? Why don't you put them? He said, you know what would happen. I said, you do it, and I'll support you. I can't do it. You do it, and I'll support you, because I think that a man's color should have no difference in whether he's going to make a living or not. I just think that's terrible. Oh, I did think it. Only knew 3 colored people in my life, and that was in Winfield, West Virginia. One of them was a janitor, and he could whistle like Brady Buckingham. And we, as kids, all followed him around hearing him whistle. Yeah, there were two other families. They worked on the steamboats that come up Kanawha River from down Galbraith, and they were respected. I know nothing else, I didn't know anything else. When I come over here, I couldn't believe they called them jigaboos and all this stuff, and it don't make any sense. But they bring them in, they raise their children, but you can't go in my house not in the front door with your hat on your head. You got to go in the back door. And this was stuff that was in slave days, and that's what it was, and it was still here. But I don't think that, we did the best we could do.
Do you feel like there's any other event or anything else that you would like to mention that maybe you've left out that comes to your mind now?
Well, I only want to say that my experience with dealing with management, if they would have been tough, I would have been tough, and we'd have had war. And they weren't. There were people that sat down and talked to you. I could go in after I struck a good chord with Ray Gott, and I knew when I went in, I could settle grievances that you couldn't get settled, because you got a friendship. You say, look, here's a guy this and that, he's got a family, he's missing work. They give him final warnings. I'd get him 4 or 5 slips for final warning, because you got a contact here, that somebody that you can deal with, and this just makes good sense. And but Ray Gott was when I met up with Ray, there's nothing ever happened that was any better than that, because I knew that I was going to be able to do a better job than anybody else there. And the plant was like Bob Berge. Bob Berge just died. He lived over in Strasbourg, and George Lux left there and went to Fredericksburg. Bob took it, and anybody, whether they're black or white, in Strasbourg was Bob's kids. And they get into something, you go in to have a meeting. I'd say, now look, he's going to chew you out from end to end, but just keep your mouth shut. He'll then give you the plan, and that's what he would do. Stories you could tell about this, what he would do to guys, that he'd get on them until they'd done something, like Pete George, and Pete said that he give him a deal to get his vacation when he wouldn't. But he chewed old George out, see. He said, I said, well, that was Bergie. That was Bergie. You know, go in there and now, just let me give you an example. The education I got in dealing with people. I took a man over to West Virginia to the veterans. We had to see a doctor. This guy had been saying I was trying to get him disability Social Security. Well, I go in, and this guy asked him, "Are you still smoking?" "I smoke one cigarette a day." He said, "You're a damn liar." He cussed this man up one side and down the other, and I started to butt in. He told me, "You shut up or I'll throw you out of here." I shut up. Before I left there, see, I could have jumped back at him. I didn't. I've been educated. Don't do it. Just keep your mouth shut. I got the best letter from him. He wrote a letter that said no medicine available that will reverse his disability. He was that strong. I got him about $8,000 in back pay. He didn't have anything, and I never charged him a dime. Now, these are things that you learn in dealing with people, and just let people say what they want to, and then you get by with it better, because that's everybody when they're young. And when I was young, I would blast them. But see, we were having a little trouble on getting. This is what. Well, I better not say that. It turned to third time, because when you're not getting what you're supposed to get, I got to go two guys in Washington give me the law for it. They were lobbyists, and I was able to turn the tide here. It really turned. But these things, when you got enough sense, you can make up with people, and you got to deal with them. But I'm really not as sharp as I used to be, and I there's things that I know exactly what I want to say, and I can't say them. Now that's the disability that I've got out of this thing, and I hope that will improve. But I'm going to have my hip operated probably this month.
Do you mind if I put a few of these pictures? And this photo is of the purchase of the McKay farm.
That is in 1944.
And you're on the far left.
I'm on the left. Mr. McKay's next to me. His wife's next. Kestner, who was the the architect, Tom Clarence, and Tom has one of the streets named after him. Thomas Marshall Street, and Charles Street's named after me. William Street's named after Bill Litter. There's three streets up there. It was.
And you helped people buy their homes?
We bought it, and I had $2,000, and I cashed that in war bonds, and I cashed that and put up the first 2,000, and I sold the house. They give me one of the houses and I sold it to Laura Walker for exactly $2,000 more than I had to pay for it to get my money back. Oh. You know what, Laura Walker?
No,
you know Laura. Well, now this is the black people, and they're on the right. They just come in automatically.
Oh.
I'd like to take you down there sometime and show you
Now, is this at the Union Hall?
Uh,
Okay. And you were one of the first to integrate
oh
the
yeah,
union meetings?
oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We had a knockdown, drag out, and I said, look, you want to ruin our union, you do this. These people helped build this. The National Union is not going to. See, I went up with Freetown, and they voted on Thursday. Their vote didn't count for nothing, you know. And this is the way it went. And you had to crawl before you walk down here when you get through this. We did this. There's no question we did this. And we didn't put a sign on that that you come in here. That would have been an insult to them. And if I'd have been them, I'd have raised hell too. But they didn't have to because we didn't do it.
Okay, let's see. Are there any other? This is.
That's Jerry. That's me and Jerry Tompkins and Woodford. He was a business agent, and I was president, and Jerry Tompkins was a plant manager, and he was one of the best friends I ever had.
Okay, let me go ahead and put that up here. This camera takes the best video of photos.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. This is the one I started the government channel with.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Do you mind saying one more time who everyone is?
Alan Woodford, Jerry Tompkins he's in the center, I believe, and I'm on the right, and Alan Woodford, he was business agent. That's when they dedicated that new addition they put to the plant.
They've got the Army Navy. Is that because of the government contracts that they had?
Well, they know that's not the one. It was in Double Deck where we had the government contract that we made that carbonated yarn, that they made these things that you put on that and they wouldn't burn up when they come back in. Yeah.
Okay.
We like to brag of our relationship with management, but we're not only the good guys. We had good people to deal with. We had good people to do it, and I want to emphasize that because, frankly, I had some of the best friends in management that I could have. Bob Spangler. See, when we have our parties down to Union Hall, I would call Bob to round up all the plant managers, see, and Bob would round up everything, and he'd call me if he couldn't get a hold of somebody. So we had that kind of a situation that we dealt together, and when you got people that you can go in and you can put out a plea that, you know, here's a guy who's got a lot of kids and dolls, so you do that, and when you're in good with them, then I could get more than any arbitrator could give you, see. Because the arbitrator will only go so far with people. And they say, well, you know, if you've got a bad attendance record, it gets so bad and you can't get by with it. And so that's, they would sometimes, in fact, I could tell you stories about people who were my worst enemies, and they would get in trouble. And I had one, and I'm not going to call his names, it was in my department, and he got caught loafing and all that stuff, and so I caught a hold of the guy that was working with him, and I had him to tell a different story, see. He was caught in the restroom. Well, about a month later, well, they fired him, see. They caught him in there and fired him. I'm going to put a plea to him and asked the foreman, would you do what they no, I wouldn't do it, so got him off. About a month later, I got a call from Jim Morgan, and he was going to fire this car. I said, wait till I get out there. So I put in a plea to him. Now, this man's not able to do it. He said, Jim, why don't you give him disability? And he's not able to work, so he had an $80 pension, disability. He got $3,000. He went out and got a job, made more. But this guy, I didn't speak to him, and I broke 3 ribs for him one time, see, in a fight in a plant. But I would no more I would never think of selling him short, because I couldn't sleep at night if I did. He helped pay my union dues. I don't care how bad an enemy he was. I had an obligation to do anything, and I did. Nobody can. I had a guy running against me for business agent, and he said in the viscose department there's a dozen people that had got fired and nobody done it. Well, I was the guy that was supposed to do for him. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you 2 weeks, and you bring one person in this plant that I ever sold short, and I won't run against you. Every week I'd say, where's he at? Where's he at? Wasn't there. But they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't be there, because I would never do that. Now, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't go to sleep if I did. So I'm that honest.
Do you mind if I make a little video of... Now, when you were in your 20s, you found this creed in the newspaper.
The Charleston said the Charleston is laying in there on a table, Jan. It's laying in there on a table. Yeah, and I cut it out, and I've been carrying it in my and I put it in here because
I thought you put it back in your wallet, Dad.
Huh?
I thought you put it back in your wallet. You had
No,
to
I
put
didn't.
your wallet back in your pants.
It was laying in there. I laid it down on the table, Jan. I know it.
Oh dear. Well, if it is, it's lost among all the other debris. I can't find it.
You'll have to find that. You showed that to me a long time ago when I interviewed you.
I did that, and I.
Mm-hmm.
You see,
Well,
some people that when I was in the plant, I had 3 fights in the plant one day.
3 fights at the plant in one day?
I was president of the local union, and people would push me to a point, and so Jerry Tompkins called me up and said, Leadman, you got to stop this fight in the plant. Yeah, because if I walked out of that door, I'm no more mad at you than nothing. I never stay mad at people. Some of the people I've had fist fights with turned out to be my best friends. I never want to pal around with people. That's why my wife and I have lived together so long. We never pal around with each other. We'll get into a good one, and before you know it, we did. I guess that's why I've done as well as this, because I make a lot of people like me, but some of them don't. The people that don't like me don't like me.
Must be something wrong with them.
Well, it's the way they look at things. Yeah, I thought I'd laid that thing in there one minute.
Yeah, I don't know where it is.
Oh
It's not
dear. You spoke a few minutes ago about first coming here and joining the chamber. Could you talk a little bit about the reception that you got and what some of the things were you did when you first got here?
Well, when I first got here, I liked it here very much. And when I first got here, I joined the Recreation Association. Mrs. Miller, she was and I think the boy that wife, he and his wife died in '88. Now he was on the Recreation Association, and of course we built the wall around the wall down here, and Jack Gillum, Billy Smith, and Billy Ritenour, and Von Beck. That was Judge Marshall's stepson. He was on. I don't know whether they should be over a half a dozen. I can't remember anybody else that was on it, because Billy Smith's dead, Jack Gillum's dead, and Robert Barber, he was on there. And what I did, see, when I was 14 years old, we heard that the police had some liquor in the state police headquarters. So 4 of us old boys went in and we went in the window. One guy couldn't get in, and I said, well, jerk the window out. He threw me a gallon of liquor out, see. I said, throw it. No, I threw it out to him. I'd run around the house. The mayor was next door. Said, Miss Cooper's calling the cops. Well, I run into a clothesline. I never fell as hard. Got that liquor and drank it. That's the best liquor I ever drank. Now, I was 14 years old. I went over to Ohio. I delivered milk to John Glenn's college. I delivered to Musk Kingdom College. I delivered milk there, and the sheriff went to my mother and he said, you tell that boy to come home. They're not going to do nothing with him, because they didn't have any business. They stored all this good liquor, see. The next day they poured it all out. I went to jail one night. Them characters that I was in jail with, I didn't want to go to jail anymore. So I decided that I'd get out and try to do what I could for young people to keep them out of trouble, and that's exactly what I joined that. I got on the hospital. We donated $10,000 to the hospital, and so I'm a giver. Now, what I did when I got the John Marshall Award, I got $1,000. Well, Jim Colburn is our treasurer, and he was in management for our. And Jim, that was one of his projects on Meals on Wheels. So I give the whole $1,000 to Mrs. Graham up there, and then I went to my executive board, and we was renting to the United Way. So I persuaded them to give them 6 months free rent. So I had to give them another $1,020. So I'm a giver. There's no question about that. What I saw there, that's what I was in my heart, and I cut it out and carried it, and I've proven it. I've proven it that I've stood right there and done it. Now, you see, let me tell you something else. When we bought the Union Hall, I moved my office downstairs and let the FOP have that. And I had to cut out a hole, and we had the electric workers. The credit union was in there, and they built this addition onto the side of the hall there, so that was a junk room. So I got them to get that up, and I went in there and paid 80% personally. Tom Kite, I got him Social Security, and he wanted to give me, I got him, I think, $14,000. And Jim Kite, and I said, Jim, Charlie Fogel's brother-in-law, I said, Jim, I've never charged anybody anything. But if you want to help me, I'm opening this office so that we can accommodate senior citizens that have problems with their supplementals. So I got Babs Brown, her husband, her son wrote the letter that I got to John Marshall Award. He's a professor, see, you don't know what have to, and her sister. So I got them to go in there and help these people with filling out their. And I paid 80%. Got some people to do things. He did this. He did the whole door, and they put the sign up, and probably spent $500. I could have taken that $500, but I didn't choose to. I was more interested. This is what I've done and why I've been recognized. This, and I'm proud of that because this is my nature. My nature.
Well, if you could say your name and how long you worked at Avtex, which positions that you held there.
Well, my name is Clarence Ritenour. I worked at Clarence 36 and a half years. And then the job, I was on 3 other jobs, got disqualified. The Visco department and staple. And I was on a job at the last job I got disqualified on, where you have to climb the ladder, and I can't climb. So they disqualified me, put me back out on the street. So I waited around in November the 1st of '81 when I took my early retirement.
Did you work at any of the other plants, or were you solely here at Avtex?
I've been living right here all my life so far. 76 years.
Could you?
Born and raised right in that room there.
Could you talk a little bit about what the plant was like when you first arrived, the duties that you had then? Could you?
Well, when I started in the cake wrap. I had to pull carts in yarn. And then they did away with the women out there in that department, and I went over in the cake wash, so it was all just about the same department. And I load them cakes up on tubes, and it goes up to the machine, cake wash machine, where they wash the yarn.
Now, I noticed while they're cleaning the basins here, you can kind of smell Avtex again, as it used to smell. Was there an odor in the cake wash department? Could you talk a little bit about the material that you handled, what it was like?
It was a cake, like yarn, tire yarn, what it was, really. And you had the girl, when the women were there, they wrapped it and then put it on skids. And then we had to truck it away and you bring another skid out for the women.
Why did they take the women out of the cake wash department?
Out of the cake wrap. I don't know why, but then the men had to wrap it when they doffed the machines over and spin it around.
So you started at the cake wash, and then you moved to the cake wrap.
No, cake wrap to the cake wash.
What year was it when you first began working at the plant?
April the 17th of 45. But I worked around the plant for a year and a half with Rust Engineering. And then I got laid off there, and I fixed through around until April 17th and went to work in the plant. Of course, I worked for all three then, because it was American Visco when I first started there. And then it went to FMC, and now in Avtex. So I retired from Avtex.
What were your life and the times like when you worked there? What was it like going to work there?
Oh, it was all right. I had to go to work somewhere.
Could you describe the process again when you wrapped the cakes? What happened to the cakes before it came to you, and where did they go afterward?
Well, the spinning room, we'll put them on skids and bring them in these cabins. And that's when I was in the cake wrap. And we had to, what the girls wrapped, we had to haul back in the cabin and bring out another empty one, like, so we could keep wrapping. Would have been 108 cakes on a skid.
About how many were you making every day?
Well, I don't know, it was a bunch. Because them girls was on, I can't think of them now. But them women was on things that so much sick. They had to wrap so many a day. Yeah. Oh, quitting time.
Now, when you started, you did the rotating shifts. What was your day like? Did they have break time?
Well,
how did your day go when you arrived till?
When I first started in the cake wrap, we worked 2 shifts. Every other, one week we worked daylight, and next week 3:30 to 12. Then when I went to cake wash, I had to work all 3 shifts. Daylight, 3:30 to 12, and graveyard.
What was that like, switching all the time?
Rough, I tell you. You had to sleep. Like if you weren't in graveyard, you had to sleep in the daytime after you got off work.
Was it hard switching the shifts so often?
Right. And then later on, we went on just work daylight and cake wash overnight.
Now, I noticed from speaking with some other retirees, there were round-the-clock nurses and a doctor. They kind of took care of your health while you were there.
Yeah.
No one has really spoken about what the work day was like. Did you pack your lunch? Did you eat in the company lunchroom? Did they have organized breaks or coffee?
Yeah, we always had 10-minute breaks. We could go in the cafeteria if we wanted to. We had time. No, I used to carry my lunch. But I ate up in the cafeteria, that was.
When you were laid off, did you miss it really bad? Did you really enjoy working there, or was it just a
I
job?
enjoyed working there, but it got kind of rough for me, and face it down in that disco department. You had to work right fast, and I I'm kind of a nervous fellow anyway, and I couldn't work fast. Just you had to keep up. They upstairs there, they would cut it. When they take it off the machine, they would cut stuff up and put them. We had to put buttons so it would go down in the big old tank.
I know when the plant did close, you were here at the time. What effect do you feel the closing had on the community here in Front Royal? How did it change things here?
Changed a lot. There's Main Street, because a lot of stores was on there. Mostly moved out the shopping centers, and ain't hardly any store. Ain't no stores where you can buy clothes, and nothing on Main Street.
So Main Street kind of vanished with the factory then?
Yeah. Oh, it hurt. I know that. When they closed it down in '89.
What are some of the things that you thought about while you were working there? Did you worry about any of the chemicals, or did you feel enough precautions were being taken?
Maybe I did when I was in the stable, because I had to work on that machine where the little old stuff come out. It made me sick. And that's why that's when they disqualified me, because
The chemical made you sick?
yeah.
Which chemical was it? Which process?
Well, you had to watch it go in this machine, and it grinds it up like real thin, and you had to take it out and put it in one of them things and staple it up, big old thing.
Was that the end of the process or the beginning
No, that was the end of the process.
when you wrapped the tire cord?
Well, this wasn't tire cord then. This was, I don't know what they used that stuff for.
What department was that?
The staple?
The staple department? Could you talk a little bit about the work that went on in the staple department? What the material was like?
If you went up on, worked on them machines up there, you would get odors from it. But this is just like fuzz where I worked there, as long as I worked there. It was just like fuzz. You'd get them on your clothes and all.
And it made you sick? What type of illness did you
I
have?
couldn't keep nothing down. No lunch or nothing down.
Did the company doctor require you to not be in there at the staple room again?
And what time the doctor required me not to do was on that last job, daylight job, and we had to clean up the wool up there on the ceiling and all, and I couldn't climb the ladder.
Let me stop it.
No. What's unavailable? I don't want to answer what's unavailable.
I don't blame you.
But everybody wants money.
Yeah. Okay. Could we go over a little bit about the type of chemicals that came into the staple department?
Acid, I guess.
Yeah. And did you get sick right away, or did it take a matter of weeks? Could you tell?
Well, mostly I got sick was on graveyard. That's what made me sick. Mostly the fumes.
Now, overall, looking at Avtex, I've heard from Mr. Core, Jim Core.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that usually a fibrous plant only lasts for about 50 years. He said that before it was closing, he could tell it was beginning to decline.
Well, down at the acid room apartment, it was because that acid was eating floors and stuff up. I know one fella fell right down in that tank, acid tank.
How did that happen? Slipped?
I don't know, he worked in that apartment, and I guess the floor gave way on him. And he went down in that tank.
Did you see it? Were you there?
I was working, but I didn't see that because I wasn't working in that apartment. That way, that was down in the plant for that little fella. That acid. That department.
Well, can you think of anything else that I haven't asked you about? Is there anything that you'd like to talk about the Avtex, the life and times there, the plant?
Well, when I first started there, that was the Visco department. I mean, American Visco. And the plant manager was, I can't think of his name, but he would come around, talk baseball and everything else with you. And that's some of the others wouldn't do that.
Now, at the beginning, some of the managers stayed for quite a while. Toward the end of the plant, some of the managers had only been there 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit about what you noticed about the management and the changeover of owners? How did that affect the workers?
Well, I don't think it hurt the workers too much, but more or less it might hurt like some of the managers or something.
Did you like the plant? Were you sorry when it closed? Were you sad to see it go down? Or do you wish we still had the Avtex plant here?
I don't know, because I doubt we ever would get it back anyway. Not now anyway.
Yeah. I know that during World War II, the government took the plant over so that tire cord could be made.
Yeah, they bought spinning machines in, and then when they got through with them, they took them out.
Could you talk a little bit about how FMC, was it FMC at the time? Could you talk a little bit about how the plant helped with the war effort?
Well, some of the men had to go to servers, but in the plant, I mean, they had to go to servers. But I did pass.
Now, after you left the staple room that was making you sick, did all your symptoms go away, or did you have to go see the doctor more?
No, most of my symptoms went away. That, but I know one thing. I know I've got to have emphysema, a little case of it, secondhand smoke. But a lot of people don't believe that.
My grandmother had it from secondhand smoke too. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I take medicine for it though.
You do. So, other than being in the staple room, do you feel that Avtex affected your health?
It could have.
Were you ever worried about that? Did anyone ever worry about pollution when you worked here? Okay, let's see. Do you have anything that you'd like to add? That your thoughts and feelings about Avtex? Maybe some of the things that you feel should be important, that should be included in the museum?
I don't know. Think about it.
How many people worked there when you started in 45?
I really don't know. Right many.
Did just about everybody here in the town work there?
One out of town too, Luray and around. Winchester and Luray and around.
Did it seem like the biggest, the best place to work? Were the salaries pretty good compared to other places?
Sometimes, yeah, it was. It wasn't bad. I make a living out of it anyway.
When you retired, were you okay? Did they give you enough money that you could live? Were you okay?
Yeah. Until I got, until I got old enough to get my Social Security.
So are you still on Avtex retirement, or is that
Yeah,
ended?
I still get a pension. Small one though. 74, 72.
Okay, let's see. Can you think of anything else I should ask you?
No, I can't. I told you most all the stuff that I knew, that I thought I knew.
Did any of your other family members work at Avtex?
Well, I had a sister work there in the PT lab, but she died now. She died in 85.
What did you think when they just pulled the plug on the plant? Were you kind of worried about the acid vats sitting in there? Did you have...
I was worried about insurance that I had out there. I had to give it up then when they closed.
So you didn't have insurance after they closed?
Well, no, not really, but then got Mutual Omaha for my septic for my other, what the Medicare don't pay, they supposed to pay Mutual Omaha.
Well, looking back over all the years that you spent at the plant, do you have any regrets?
Nope.
Could you sum up what it was like to be there? That was probably the longest job you had, was it?
The only job I ever had, really. But besides working for Rust Engineer for a year and a half out there. And that's more like a timekeeper.
So Avtex was your only work that you've had?
For a long time, 36 and a half years, yeah. I took early retirement.
Did you have a lot of friends there? Were people friendly? Was it a good place to work? Were you happy there?
It was all right, I'll say.
Well, what do you think about the plans that they're doing to clean it up and make it into a park with the soccer fields? How do you feel about how the Avtex site is coming along these days?
Really? Oh, I guess it'll be all right. I mean, we need to do something with a lot of the land out there anyway.
Now, did you have a garden when you worked there? A lot of people had gardens.
No, I didn't have a garden.
What are some of the other things that they did besides work? Did they have the Avtex volleyball team, or?
They used to have a baseball team, but that's the only thing I can remember.
Did they have company picnics a lot or anything?
Sometimes they did, yeah. I went to one time.
Well, I can't think of anything else to ask you. Do you want to add anything else at all?
No, I think I gave you all I know.
Well, thank you.